The franchise James Bond has been bought out by another company other than Eon. That's been making it for many past years for the Broccoli family, etc. It's been bought by Amazon. Now, there's been a lot of discussion, particularly on the internet in certain circles, what the new owners of the IP, intellectual property of James Bond, will be doing with it, i.e., creatively. Will James Bond go back in time? Will they make it from the 1950s? Will they make a modern contemporary version? Will they keep the same format? What will they be doing? One would imagine that Amazon already partly know the answers to all these questions and have been in development with it for some time. Okay. Now, it got me thinking, yeah, okay, so the question is about James Bond. Will they keep the same ethnicity as traditional? Will they change that? Gender, sexuality. These are all questions that are going around the internet, okay? And other places as well, and on news items and things like this. Yeah. Again, that's up to Amazon. Now I've been thinking, films in recent times. In 2000, there was a film called Gladiator. Yeah. Where the main character, played by an actor called Russell Crowe, who's notable. He he um he played a Spanish guy in it. Yeah. As far as I know, Russell Crowe is not Spanish. Yeah. Um, and he's certainly not Roman. I mean, okay, the reference would be from contemporary Roman artwork at the time. But again, it's all part of the entertainment. Yeah. John Wayne in 1956 played Genghis Khan. Yeah. Who was an historical figure. But again, um, I don't think John Wayne could be said to be Mongolian. Yeah, or from the mongrel race. Yeah, or ethnicity. Kirk Douglas played a Viking in 1958. He's Jewish. He certainly wasn't a Scandinavian. But Lancaster played an Apache Indian in 1954. Again, yeah, he's a square-jawed American person. Certainly, not of certainly not of indigenous Indian heritage, as far as I know. Yeah, I've done some research and look him up today. I saw Ewan McGregor the other day in a film playing an American. More recently, he's played a Russian, and he's a Scottish actor. Yeah, he doesn't say he's English; he always says he's Scottish. Yeah. Um, very, very strangely, women will know this. Renée Zellweger played a British woman, a British journalist, Bridget Jones' Diary. Actually, I'll give her fair credit. She she got the accent right. You wouldn't have known unless you knew that she was American that she was American. Watching her, she worked hard on the accent. Certainly not like Dick Van Dyke when he played a Londoner, an East Londoner in Mary Poppins. Yeah. Um, and Hugh Laurie played Dr. House in the series House. Yeah. Again, lots of Americans did not know he was not American, but a British actor. Okay. I mean, these are, of course, fictional characters, such as a popular Netflix series recently has been Bridgerton, which my wife was a fan of. She enjoyed watching it. In it, it was 18th century England. Some of the characters were played by black actors on the premise that Queen Charlotte was at least partly black. Whether or not the historical evidence holds that up or not is interesting. Yeah. I mean, it's always interesting when I've been watching Netflix series lately, things from Sherlock Holmes right the way through to yeah, more yeah, historical dramas as well. They use obviously CGI a lot in London for people in the background as well as other actors. When you watch these, you'd have thought they had definitely have an alternative view of the demographics of London from the 15th through to probably the 19th century. When you watch it, you'd have thought it was mainly made up of African and Asian population, when in reality, it was reasonably small. It was quite small. Um, yeah, I mean, okay, it's an interesting take. These things are still fiction. Yeah, they're not documentaries. Um, People can say what they want. I mean, okay, Disney recently made The Little Mermaid, which was Scandinavian with a mixed race actress, American actress. Um, Her colouring could be more reflective of Danish people now than when Hans Christian Andersen, if you like, wrote the original story. Again, not played by a Danish actress even. Yeah. So the point I'm making is um, we're looking at all this, and there's all these conversations about different people playing different parts. These are just actors. Yeah, I'll get on to more in a minute about this. But I'm going to look at some real history here, which has been discussed. Recently, or Netflix did a documentary drama about Cleopatra, where they had a British black actress playing Cleopatra. The idea, I mean, Cleopatra was of Greek heritage, um, although they do not know who her mother was. And the argument was that Cleopatra's mother, because of, you know, geographically, could have been black, which is a possibility. Yeah. Um, Show us the evidence. Yeah, sort of thing. It's your documentary and it's presenting it as fact, which was a little bit dangerous. Yeah. If you're going to say this is the possibility of it. Okay. Um, it's odd that the Greek authorities or Greek historians jumped on Netflix about this and got quite upset about it. But in the past, Cleopatra has been played by actresses such as Liz Taylor, who was English, Vivian Lee, who was American, and Monica Buccelli, who was Italian. Yeah. It's earmarked that Gal Gadot, who's Israeli, may be playing, or is going to be playing Cleopatra in a film due to be released this year. It's in production, apparently, or they're doing something. So, again, that's another take on it. Her argument is they can't find anyone suitable. I think she's part producing it. She's going to play the part herself. Yeah. Um, it's again, yeah, it's funny that the Greeks decided to jump on it when it was an African actress or a black actress, as opposed to previous reincarnations of it. Um, I think found it quite interesting that recent TV offerings have been giving Henry VIII was apparently married to a black Anne Boleyn. When you look at contemporary portraits of the time, I do believe that Anne Boleyn was white. Yeah. So again, yeah, there's no suggestion the actress who played Anne Boleyn was excellent. If it had been on the radio, you wouldn't have known. Yeah. In Vikings, yeah, very popular, good, well-made series, The Vikings. Don't look for it for history. Yeah. Ajar not only changed their ethnicity, but also their gender. So again, yeah, it's presenting something else. But again, it's not a documentary. It's fiction or it's faction. Yeah, somewhere between. Now, there's no question that the actors are competent in playing their parts. It does annoy me that when they do press junkets, they have to justify doing a job. Yeah. These actors, yeah, have been employed, they've been paid money, and they've done, they've done their job. They've been given a script, they've been told to interpret something, they've done it. Okay. But it makes me think, it would not be possible for a white actor to play Malcolm X or Martin Luther King Jr. because the whole meaning of their characters would be lost. They're historical figures within living memory. Yeah. Now, I'm going to close out this monologue by saying this. Producers can cast whomever they want to. It's their product. Yeah. It doesn't matter if it's what it is, TV, film, it's a product. Yeah. Us as a consumers can choose what we want to watch. Yeah. Critics can point out historical facts. Yeah. I mean, yeah, even the best produced films and TV series from a historical period may have some either deliberate mistakes in them or common ideas. Yeah. To keep in line with what people think. But yeah, the critics can point out the facts. To condemn critics and condemn people for not wanting to go and see a product, a film or TV series, people are is not how it should work. Yeah. People can make their own choices. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to close this now. It is now going to be very, very interesting. There's a new production of A Jesus Story, and the character of Jesus is going to be played by a black female. So people can make the decision whether or not to go and see that or not. Okay. Now, my question to you, Steve, does it really matter? Over to you.
Well, as you know, I don't watch films.
Yeah, I know it's a general.
I don't watch films. You lost me on the film Gladiator. Russell Crowe, I think you said he was the
Yeah,
actor.
yeah.
Don't if I saw him in the street today, I would never know who it was. I
Well,
don't.
he
I
looks very
just don't
different
know.
he looks very different in recent times, but yes,
Well,
okay. Yeah,
well,
okay.
whatever.
Yeah,
If you showed me a photo of him, I just wouldn't.
yeah.
You know,
I tried to be as general as I could.
I
Yeah,
try not to live in a two-dimensional, pellicular, filmy sort of life. I
okay.
like 3D. I like to get out there and
Yeah, yeah,
smell smell people, but not in the Biden sense.
yeah.
You
Okay,
know,
fair enough. Yeah,
smell the
yeah,
atmosphere and touch
yeah,
and
yeah,
the actors I recognised you mentioned were Dick Van Dyke, Liz
yeah.
Taylor, and John Wayne.
Hmm.
You know,
Okay.
you rattled off a few more in their times where they were
Yeah,
playing personalities, characters
yeah,
that are from a different ethnicity of what they are.
yeah.
But remember, back in the day, in the Hollywood days, we're talking about
Hmm.
there was only a gaggle of actors that dominated all the films.
Yeah.
You know, it was the Cary Grants of this world. He was hitting out films
Hmm.
like it was like there was no tomorrow.
Yeah.
He was the bee's knees.
Hmm.
Same with Liz Taylor. She was
Yeah.
stuck out some decent films.
Hmm.
In John Wayne, all the Western with John Wayne's,
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood. You can
Yeah.
say keep on going out where the names
Yeah.
are quite possibly more important than what they actually did in the film.
Hmm. Well, yeah.
You
I mean,
know, so that's why these people, these actors, did these roles because
yeah.
they were the most famous people around.
Yeah.
You mentioned something about somebody played a part of a Mongolian warlord or something like that. I'm sure that if you wanted to be politically correct, that you'd go and find a Mongolian warlord from somewhere. But the
Yeah.
thing is, I'm sure there were very few and far between at that time.
Hmm.
So they needed somebody who they thought could carry off the
Yeah.
character.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they trod on the ball when they called Dick Van Dyke to play the English chimney sweep.
Well, he's a
But
dancer performer. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
well, ever.
Yeah.
He's certainly not an English impersonator, but which basically is his character, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so should they look if you're making let's go back
Yeah.
to the beginning.
Yeah.
You said that Amazon had bought the James Bond franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah, Amazon bought James Bond because it worked.
Mm.
Right. Would you balance the boat and try and put something that already works just to satisfy your personal ego, or would you make millions and millions by leaving it as it is the question you need to ask.
Yes. Yeah.
If Jeff Bezos has some director or some boffin in his ranks that's really, 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 really lefty and wants to make James Bond a Jane Bond, for example, I'm sure that the people, the viewers at the end users would 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 say to Amazon what they really thought.
Yeah.
You know, just look at Bud Light beer. You know,
Well,
it doesn't take a genius to know that this sort of thing
mm,
isn't. Just look at Disney,
well, yeah.
the state of Disney at the
Well, that's
moment.
it. But,
You know, they're having to roll back on all their lefty sort of ideological sort of shite, you know, that
yeah.
they tried to put on people, and it didn't work. So, does it matter about the actor who's playing the character? If you're in a film and it's a film,
Mm,
it's a fantasy, you
yeah.
put in who you like,
Yeah.
you put in who can most pull off the role,
Yeah.
who is more indicated for that role. Doesn't black, white, Chinese,
Mm,
anything that you like,
yeah.
right? But they've got to be able to pull off the role.
Exactly.
If for
Yeah.
if for some reason uh, they don't,
Mm,
it's a huge loss for you.
yeah.
So all I would say to film companies is be careful how you choose,
Mm.
how you do. You mentioned about the black lesbian who's going to be in Jesus Christ Superstar.
I didn't know she was
In
a
a
lesbian. I must admit.
yeah,
Yeah. But yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
afraid she is.
Oh, well. Yeah.
She who's gonna make that? I'm sure you're gonna find a reduced audience, but an awful lot of LBGT in the audience.
Okay. They got.
And if you're gonna pamper for the
Mm,
minority and a
mm,
greatly reduced minority,
yeah.
unless of course the whole LGBTQ plus whatever it is population of the UK descend on London
I don't
to
know.
go and cram this place out
I thought it
to
was
watch
Hollywood
it.
Bowl in the US, but yeah. Okay. I thought it
Well,
was.
wherever it is,
Yeah.
that's how much I'm into these sort of
Yeah. Yeah.
these sort of things.
Yeah.
You might get Philadelphia going across there to watch it. San Fran, people from San Fran
Yeah.
going down to watch it. The people who don't have any money, uh, and they're going to be watching it. Are they?
Well.
I think they get more money off the telly
Yeah.
if they broadcast it on the telly than what they would
I mean.
on and then they'd have difficulty in getting the sponsors for it.
I mean.
But I digress.
I mean. My okay. Christians. I mean, my view, even as a Christian Catholic, okay, do what they want. Um, I'm not overall offended for it because it's not something I go and see. I picked up on it as a news item, um, and it. I'm not saying it's odd or anything else. I mean, I've got no objection to a black actor ever playing Christ because you go to you go to Japan, Christians there have a Japanese looking Jesus. You go to Africa, sometimes it is a black
Like
Jesus.
Father Christmas, sir.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're
Like
yeah.
like Father Christmas.
I'm not
Go
quite
to
putting the
China. You go to China, you get a Chinese Father Christmas.
yeah.
You go
That's
to
it.
Uganda, you get a Ugandan Father
Okay,
Christmas.
yeah. So people make image, and it belongs
You
to
go
everyone.
to
Yeah,
you go to the US, you get a really fat Father Christmas.
yeah. I mean, and yeah, as we're saying, if people want to go and see that, might be a perfectly good performer. That's up to people's choice. Don't tell me because I don't want to
You
go and
use
see.
what you've got.
Yeah,
You use what you've got.
Yeah, and I just read it. I had to reread it, and I thought, is this a spoof? You know, because at the moment, you read something on the internet, is it a spoof?
You, you,
Um,
you you use what you've got. And that's why independent films
yeah,
will not hire a really famous actor
mm,
who lives on the other side of the world
no,
to come across and star in their film
mm,
because they can't afford it. So they use what they've got.
yeah,
They use what they've got. So if you've got more money than sense, you can
mm,
do these sort of things. If you're intellectually challenged and you have these fantasies of what an ideal life should be,
yeah,
then and you've got the money to
mm,
spend it. It's your money.
yeah, exactly. That's my attitude to it. Yeah, I mean, if you think you've got an audience, I mean, that's it. I mean, the trouble is with these production companies. Now, I don't agree with every critic who criticizes, for example, a rendition or idea or something. Yeah. Ultimately, as I've always said, as I agree with you, if you're a film producer, you make whatever film you make. You make it, and I'm not for censorship. You can make, and I'm going to be, yeah, quite honest here. You can make something as left or right wing as you want, as I'm going to be honest, as racist as you want. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
um, and if people want to see it, they'll go and see it. Um, most of us are bored by racism. If there was a film that came out tomorrow that depicted all a certain ethnicity as being subculture and everything out, out of context, just as a normal way of thinking, I don't think any of us would go and see it. Apart from the fact we get, we wouldn't want to be going to see that kind of thing because we understand slavery is wrong. We understand a lot of things are wrong. Yeah. Um, whatever, however people twist history about the slave trade, and again, yeah, we all know that just wasn't. I hate to use the term white or black white people involved taking blacks, or black Africans involved in that as well. Yeah, that's the uncomfortable truth for some people. But yeah, Netflix have been guilty of, if you like, hiding some realities there as well. But yeah, it's history. That's the point I'm making. As I said, you can cast whoever you want, and I agree with you. I brought this subject up because it's something I was just thinking about. Okay, I got from James Bond to a very peculiar train of thought. That's how we all work sometimes. And yeah, critics can go if if I can watch a film and forget somebody. I mean, I watched a film the other day about King Arthur, and it had just about every ethnicity you could think of. I wouldn't even say it was medieval England; it predated that, which probably wouldn't have happened. But all the actors did a good job. It was a romp. It was a laugh. It was fun. Yeah, I took it for what it was. Um, a mythical thing. I mean, it had like, yeah, a hundred foot tall elephants, effectively mammoths. Yeah, smashing down buildings. As far as I know, I mean these things were mythically created as well by
Sounds
the
sounds
magic.
like you sounds like you really enjoyed yourself.
I did. It's great. You wouldn't have liked it at all, Steve, because
No, I'm sure I would.
it's. I mean, it had plot holes in it all over the place, but I enjoyed it. Yeah, it was a Guy Ritchie's version of King Arthur, if anyone's interested. And yeah, again, yeah, as a romp, it's brilliant. As an historical document of anything, it was crass. But yeah, it was what it was. It was brash. But yeah, I accepted that. Yeah, I can accept certain things I played around with. But yeah,
Back to James Bond,
yeah,
as we weren't.
yeah,
But I think if Bezos put his head on,
yeah.
he might try and go back a little bit to the 60s
I thought that. Yeah,
and have a new story in the style of the 60s, which is when James Bond was
mm.
born.
Yeah,
And then he can do he can do, I don't know how many James Bond films there were made, but you saw this progress of him going up
yeah,
through the 60s, 70s, 80s,
yeah.
90s, even 90s. But
But
if he starts at the 60s,
mm,
he can do the same thing,
yeah, but, yeah,
going up in future productions of his,
yeah,
but with different stories, so that this generation can grow up with the you get the older generation like
yeah,
me,
yeah,
who might watch something out that's got a 60s
yeah,
flavour to it,
yeah,
right? And then you've got the youngsters who'll be brought into it. It's
mm,
a little bit like music. I think that sooner or later you're going to get the 70s sound
yeah,
coming back into music for a while
yeah,
to bring parents, like me,
mm,
that we remember
yeah,
and we're most likely to buy
mm,
and influence, and then they'll come back coming through the years. So
yeah,
a little bit like the fans of Madonna
yeah,
when she had her original fans that were babies, and she's been going for so long, almost as long as Cher,
yeah. Well,
um, you know, that they grew up with her, you know.
yeah. Well, I did. I mean, about probably 14, 13. Yeah, but I mean, she was a good musician. Still is
So,
probably. Yeah, but
yeah. So I think that Jeff Bezos, he could go do one from the 60s,
yeah,
a 60s theme, different story,
mm,
use graphics if he needs to, to make it a bit more dynamic.
yeah. I
But
mean,
I remember the films that I used to watch,
yeah,
well, which are very few and far between. I'll,
yeah,
I'll tell you.
yeah.
Things
Oh,
like The Italian Job,
oh, brilliant.
uh,
Yeah, yeah,
which the most dramatic or the most famous scene, I suppose, out of the Italian Job are the mini
yeah,
cars
yeah,
driving through the sewers,
yeah,
and that's because the Mini is a really traditional English car
yeah,
from the 60s.
yeah.
From the
Br-
60s.
The British
Well,
maiden, the British maiden didn't want to help with the film at all, and it's probably their biggest advert ever. But yeah, that's
yeah, yeah. Well, I'm sure that the cars they used were Austin,
oh, the Austin. Yeah, sorry.
not
Yeah,
necessarily late.
sorry.
However,
Yeah,
however, you know, that is the sort of thing that
yeah,
attracts older viewers, a bit
yeah,
like me, which is why Austin Powers did so well
yeah.
because it was all your sort of 60s, 70s sort of vibe.
Yeah, it's a retro vibe to it, and there does
And
seem
I
to be
think
a market for that. Yeah,
yeah, I think James Bond could do that because James Bond could be reborn
yeah,
and regrow. If you
yeah,
if you look at if you look at things like Jason Bourne,
mm,
Jason Bourne had a short life
yeah,
because it started now, and you can only chase through towns and cities of Europe for so long. You
yeah,
know,
yeah. They tried to
if
do it.
there,
Yeah,
there was no growth, there was no growth. It was just chasing after each other for a while.
yeah. I mean, it was a spy thriller. It did. I mean, yes, towards the end, it didn't quite know where it was going to go. I mean, James
Yeah.
Bond is basically the same plot every film.
I think that Jason Bourne and his pursuers were all bent over double, huffing and puffing,
Yeah,
just short of the finish line.
yeah, yeah. It's actually when you read about. I mean, I mean, actually, it was the same action crews actually filmed James Bond did Bourne as well. But yeah, I mean, Jason Bourne was meant to be a thinking man's James Bond in effect. It's meant to be more realistic. Yeah, I can't see that myself, but yeah, um, I wanted an actioner, and I mean, this is it. When I go to the cinema, I want to be entertained for an hour and a half. And that's what
Escape,
I
yeah.
just said about the thing about King Arthur. I know it's
Yep.
complete nonsense. I can live with that. Um, I don't like things presented as fact when I can see through it. Um,
You can't
yeah.
unless you have the original. You can't unless you have the original.
Well, yeah, but I
So
mean,
to say that somebody might have been, just the word might
mm,
is just somebody might have been this color or that color. The
yeah,
word might. It's not fact anymore.
no, and that's the point I'm making. Yeah, okay, bring the receipts, or if you're going to say this could have been. I mean, history is based on a lot of supposition as well.
Yep.
Ideas. Yeah, what?
Probably, possibly,
Yeah, I
could
mean,
have, should have, what is it? Could have,
could have,
should have,
could have,
would
should
have.
have, been, would have. Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it's. I mean, when they talk about was it John Ford westerns, and he said one day, "This is not how it was; it's how it should have been." Yeah, it's our interpretation. I mean, yeah, going back, yeah, do we? No one was wandering around with mobile phones at the time recording everything.
No,
Yeah,
of course not.
and yeah, I mean, we're gone like this. I mean, yeah, we don't know. I mean, probably it. I mean, certainly. I mean, if we talk about historical authenticity, no, yeah, yeah, correctness with I need an English teacher, but yeah, correctness with films.
Me to say.
Even when we're speaking, even when you listen to speaking, if we were listening to someone from the Elizabethan times, or probably even the Georgian times, or probably even the turn of the century, last century, not current, yeah, um, we'd have probably sounded very strange to them, and they'd sound strange to us. We know this from when you're reading things. How do we
Why?
read it?
That's why Shakespeare nobody understands it.
Yeah, even our modern, yeah, rendition of Shakespeare. Yes,
Wuthering Heights.
yeah,
Wuthering Heights is
yeah,
to read
contemporary to
Wuthering
the time.
Heights is a bit of a chore.
Yeah, it's
Not
contemporary.
because it's a horrible story. It's just
No,
the language,
yeah,
that they use.
exactly. Yeah, it's not what we recognize. It's a different form of English. So when we talk about contemporary, and even our looks probably today, a modern British person looks probably look very different to what an English person, I should say, would look probably in Elizabethan times. We know that from some of the pictures. Um,
You and I, in
yeah,
my mother's day,
yeah,
when I was a child, being unshaven and
oh yeah,
unkempt as we are, would have been called slovens.
yes, yeah,
But today we're just called casual.
yeah. Yeah, actually, I've just had a client I've just been talking to, and I was explaining that I can do a received pronunciation English, and I choose not to because it is not me. I am not some BBC broadcaster with airs and graces. I'm a boy from Essex who speaks like this. You know what I mean? Good in it, yeah. Again, that's stylized because I cannot speak my own language, my own accent anymore. I've lost it. But I speak somewhere in between. So again, yeah, it's a and yeah, language changes as well as do anything else. And people's looks. I mean, yeah, you look at a Dutch person now. Yeah, over the past 50 years, how Dutch people look has changed quite dramatically. I've looked, yeah, they're not like the 6'2" blonde people anymore.
Like interbreeding with midgets.
Well, whatever, yeah, yeah, it's a bit of a rarity almost now. I don't. I mean, yeah, from what I saw,
You get a Dutch girl with a Peruvian, you can only expect stunted growth on.
well, well, I'm not. Yeah, I mean, okay. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's healthy in a way. It mixes the gene pool up a bit and in things like this. Yeah. So I'm not going to be, yeah, it's interesting.
Not saying that there aren't any tall Peruvians.
Yeah.
It's just that there aren't that many of them.
Well,
But
actually, yeah. I mean, I was out, yeah, Sunday evening at a function, a pre-carnival function. Yeah. And I realized I'm looking around. I'm one of the tallest people on the street. Yeah. Um, and I'm only 1.88 meters tall, which is 6.2 in your currency. Um, yeah, I'm, but so I'm probably as a German. I mean, people mistake me as being German here, and I don't know why. Yeah,
being obviously not Brazilian,
yeah,
you're what's called easy pickings
yeah.
because the little thieves, the
Oh
wallet
yeah, no,
snatchers,
yeah.
they can see you from a long way off.
Oh yeah, no, I don't carry anything. Admittedly, I don't carry anything. But I don't have mobile phones on me or wallets or anything else. Yeah, anyone that
Not
tries
that
to,
there's anything wrong with the carnival people. It's a very good thing to do
yeah,
for a
it's
vast
really,
majority of people.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, it's like being out in London now. Take the security precautions, exactly the same security precautions you take in London. Take to the carnival with you. Yeah, don't stand in the street corner with your mobile phone. Yeah, I mean the Brazilians do it. My wife has a mobile phone with a cord on it, and yeah, yeah. I said to her, "Have you got your 9mm in your pocket ready?" And I had to explain to her what exactly I meant by that. Yeah, which is illegal in Brazil, by the way, people. You can't get a license. You can't get a concealed carry license here, even for any Americans watching. So please don't do it.
Leave,
Um,
leave it at home, Mark.